And the next topic which we are going to take up for this marathon lecture is economic efficiency of a firm. This is a chapter which is related to SPM, and the chapter is related to how can we use the economic terms, the economic ways of calculating the maximum profit or the minimum cost that we are going to incur for our production process. Okay, this particular concept is very popular in case where business is using economic ways of ascertaining the cost and the profits, and how to maximize the profits and how to reduce the cost to the minimal, how to produce an economic quantity of a particular good, to ascertain what quantity is to be produced to attain the maximum profit or reduce the cost. All these things can be easily seen in this particular chapter. So this chapter deals with the economic efficiency of the firm. Okay, so there are certain common terms which we should be aware about before we start dwelling into this particular chapter. Total revenue, it is quantity sold multiplied by price per unit. Okay, these are common terms which you have already studied in your 11th or 12th standard. There is nothing very different or nothing very difficult. Okay, then we have average revenue. Average revenue is total revenue divided by quantity. Marginal revenue, which is change in revenue divided by change in quantity. If you remember, we used to use this sign, change in revenue. Triangle represents change in revenue. So 1 unit change in revenue divided by 1 unit change in quantity. That is the marginal revenue. Okay. Then comes the total cost. Total cost is fixed cost and variable cost. If we add both these costs together, then we'll get the total cost. Average cost is total cost divided by quantity. That is the average cost. Marginal cost is change in cost divided by change in quantity. So triangle cost divided by triangle quantity. That is the marginal cost. Total profit is total revenue minus total cost. Okay. An average profit is there. Total profit divided by quantity is average profit. Marginal profit is change in profit divided by change in quantity. These are the basic terminology which we will use in this particular chapter quite often. Okay. Now a very basic question, a very preliminary question. This kind of question will not come in the examination, I'm telling you, but this we need to do to gauge our understanding on how to compute the basic elements of this particular chapter. The cost of the firm is given by the function 4x cube plus 9x square plus 11x plus 27. So we are computing the cost. This is the cost function which is there. Okay, you have to find the average cost. This is the total cost. Okay, you have to find the average cost, the marginal cost, the average variable cost, the average fixed cost, x being the output. So x is the output. The concept is that depending upon what number of outputs do you want to produce, your cost will vary. Okay, so if we transfuse 3, 4, whatever number of output we need to produce in the x, then we'll get the cost. That is the idea. Okay, now please note that 27 represents the fixed cost because there is no x. It is not dependent on number of units produced. It will be incurred even if 0 number of units are produced. So 27 is the fixed cost. What is the variable cost? 4x cube plus 9x square plus 11x. This is the variable cost. So total cost can be bifurcated into variable cost and fixed cost depending upon which element has got x in it and which element has not got x in it. Elements which are free of x, they are fixed cost. Elements which are dependent on x, they are variable cost. Now we need to compute all these things. Okay. Let me take a blank chart. What is the cost function? Cost function is 4x cube, 9x square, 11, 27. 4, 9, 11, 27. 4, 9, 11, 27. This is the total cost. Okay. 4, 9, 11, 27. This is the total cost. First of all, we need to compute the average cost. Okay. Now average cost is equal to cost divided by x. So we'll divide every part by x. This will result into 4x square plus 9x plus 11 plus 27. So this is the average cost function. This is the average cost function. We'll divide the total cost by number of units, which is x. Simple, very simple. Next is the marginal cost. Okay. Now I'll tell you what is marginal cost. So marginal cost is computed by differentiating the total cost with respect to x. When we differentiate the total cost with respect to x, we'll compute the marginal cost. The total cost is 4x cube plus 9x square plus 11x plus 27. We'll differentiate this with respect to x. Now this differentiation is an important process which you need to learn and understand if you want to solve these questions well, because this concept will definitely come in the examination. This is an important concept. You need to learn this concept well, guys. Okay, so how to differentiate any function, that's what we are going to learn now. Now 3. So 4x cube is to be differentiated. What are we doing? We'll multiply 3, we'll bring down 3 and multiply it by 4. 3 multiplied by 4, and x raised to the power 3 minus 1. Whatever is the power, that is to be reduced by 1. Now please don't ask me the logics behind this derivation, sir. Why is the derivation done and why only minus is required to be done? Please don't ask me such questions. These are mathematical derivations which have been done. Okay, so the differentiation of 4x cube is 12x square. 12x square is the differentiation of 4x cube. Okay, next 9x square. How to differentiate 9x square with respect to x? So you multiply the numerator, you multiply the power with the digit. So 2 multiplied by 9x. Now what you do is whatever is in the power, you reduce it by 1. Reduce it by 1. Okay, next one is 11x. Okay, now x, if it is x means x raised to the power 1. X mean x raised to the power 1. So 1 is required to be multiplied with 11, and x raised to the power 1 minus 1. You'll reduce the power by 1. That is the constant thing which we are doing. Okay, last is 27. So 27 doesn't have a x with it, which means that there is a x in it with 0 power. There is an x with it with 0 power. X raised to the power 0 is 1. Okay, what are we going to do? We are going to multiply this 0 with this whole digit, which means this digit becomes 0. So multiplication of any number which is without x is always 0. Multiplication of any number which is without x is 0. Okay, now we're going to simplify it. 12x square plus 18x plus 11. Why 11? 11 because x raised to the power 1 minus 1 is x raised to the power 0. X raised to the power 0 is 1. Okay, so this is the resultant figure. So marginal cost function is this. Okay, so this is the marginal cost function. This is the marginal cost function. Okay. Now what is the next ask? Average variable cost is required to be computed. So first we'll compute the variable cost. So what is the variable cost? First we need to compute the variable cost, then we'll compute the average variable cost. Variable cost will be 4x cube plus 9x square plus 11x. We will exclude the fixed cost. 27 will exclude. Variable cost is 4x cube plus 9x square plus 11x. Okay, this is the variable cost. So what will be the average variable cost? Average variable cost will be total variable cost divided by x. So this will be 4x cube which gives me 4x square plus 9x plus 11. This is the average variable cost. This is the function of average variable cost. This is the function of average variable cost. Okay, average variable cost 4x square plus 9x plus 11x. Average variable cost. Then average fixed cost. What is average fixed cost? First of all, you need to tell me what is the fixed cost. Fixed cost was 27. So what will be the average fixed cost? I'm going to divide it by x. That will be the average fixed cost. Okay, total fixed cost divided by x is the average fixed cost. So average fixed cost is what we have. Average fixed cost. Okay, so this is the average fixed cost. So this is how each of the cost is required to be computed. Same goes with the revenue. If total revenue is given to you, then you will be able to compute the marginal revenue, the average revenue, all kind of revenues you'll be able to compute using the same methodology. Wherever you need to find the average, you'll divide it by x. Wherever you need to find the marginal, you'll differentiate it with respect to x. Be it revenue, be it cost, same format or same computation will be applied in all such questions. So this was a very basic question that introduced you to these figures. Now we come on to the main thing of this particular chapter, which is maximization and minimization of functions. Now, if someone asks me that I need to minimize or maximize the function which is given over here. So this is a cost function, guys. This is a cost function. This is the average variable cost. If I were to ask you that please compute at what quantity of x will this average variable cost be minimum? Because I want to minimize the variable cost, okay? I don't want to produce more, I don't want to produce less. I exactly want to produce the quantity that will minimize my average variable cost. That is the ask. What will that x be? This is known as maximization or minimization of function. Wherever there will be revenue or profit, you will be asked to maximize. And wherever there will be cost, you will be asked to minimize. Now we are going to learn how to minimize or maximize a particular variable. So guys, these are the 5 steps which we typically follow to minimize or maximize a particular variable. These are the 5 steps which we follow. Okay. If you want to minimize or maximize a particular function, then this is a 5-step process which is enumerated over here. Okay. First, step 1. Differentiate the function with respect to the quantity. You need to find the first derivative of this particular function. Equate the differentiated function with 0. Compute the number of units. Now we'll equate the differentiated function with 0 and compute the number of units, whatever will be there. Differentiate the first derivative again with respect to quantity, which means find the double derivative, or this is known as the second derivative. Find the second derivative. Okay. Fourth step is, if the second derivative is positive number, then the number of units computed at step 2 will yield a minimized cost. And if it is a if second derivative is a negative number, then the number of units computed at step 2 will yield the maximum revenue. So in this particular step, we are going to first ascertain whether the second derivative is a positive number or a negative number. If the second derivative is a positive number, then we'll say that the function will yield us the minimum cost. If the second derivative is a negative number, then we'll say that the function will yield us the maximum result. Okay. Step 5 is, in case second derivative is both negative and positive, then the function is increasing, decreasing respectively. This we'll see by an example. Okay, let's do an example and exactly see what is minimization and maximization meant to be. Okay, optimize y is equal to 2x cube plus minus 3x square plus 126x plus 59. We need to optimize, which means we need to maximize or minimize this particular equation. So first, let's write the equation and then see what steps do we need to perform to maximize or minimize this particular function. 2x cube minus 3x square minus 30x square plus 126x plus 59 minus 330x square plus 126 plus 59 plus 126x plus 59 minus 30x square. Okay, so this is the function. So step 1 is you need to find the derivative of this entire equation. And guys, now I'm directly taking the derivative. I'm not going to write the formula again. 26. This is the first derivative of this particular equation. This is the first derivative. Okay, 6x square minus 60x plus 126 is the first derivative of this equation. Okay, now step number 2, you will equate the first derivative with 0. This is step number 2. It's 126. Now this is a quadratic equation, guys. There are two kind of things which can happen at this stage. A, you will get a answer just by transposing the numbers from here to there, and you'll get the direct answer. But this equation is a quadratic equation, which means that x square, x and no x figures are there. This will not be as straightforward to compute the solution. Okay, so what I'll do is I will first of all divide the entire equation by 6. This will become x square minus 10x plus 21 7, and I'll send the 6 in multiplication with 0, which will make it a 0. So I've taken common as 6. 6 has been taken as common, and I've transferred 6 to 0, so it becomes 0. Okay, I've taken 6 as common. Now see carefully what I'm doing. I need 2 digits, multiplication of which should be 21, plus and minus of which should be 10. I need 2 digits, 2 numerical digits, multiplication of which should be 21, plus and minus should be 10. 2 digits will be 7 and okay. So x square minus 7x minus 3x plus 21. 7 3s are 21. Okay. So I'll split 10 into 2 parts, minus 7 minus 3, minus 7x minus 3x. Total is minus 10x. Okay. Now I'll take x as common. So x minus 7 becomes the factor inside, and I'll take minus 3 as common. X minus 7 becomes the factor. Okay. So the factor is x minus 3 multiplied by x minus 7. So x has 2 answers, 7 and 3. X has 2 answers, 7 and 3. 7 and 3 are the 2 answers. If we transpose this entire equation, if we equate it with 0, x has 2 answers. 2 answers are 7 and 3. The first derivative has been subject to equated with 0, and 2 answers are derived from it. Okay, sir, got it. Now the third step is to derive a second derivative of this equation, d2y divided by dx square. This is the second derivative of this same equation. Okay, the second derivative will be 12x, 6 into 2 12, 12x minus 60. This is the second derivative. This is the second derivative. Okay, now what are we going to do is, what we are going to transpose these two numbers which we have got in the second derivative. Okay, so first of all we'll put x is equal to 7. Second we'll put x is equal to 3. So if we put x is equal to 7, then this is our answer. If we put x is equal to 3, then this is our answer. Let's compute it. 12 multiply 7, 84 minus 60 is 24. This is a positive number. 36 minus 60 is 24, which is a negative number. So this is a positive number, this is a negative number. When we transposed the answers which we have derived over here, when we transport it in the double derivative equation, then we get this result. Okay, now the conclusion is, what is the conclusion? Conclusion is that when you put x is equal to 7, when you put x is equal to 7, then you will get the minimum result. And when you put x is equal to 3, then you're going to get the maximum result. This is the conclusion which you are drawing from this particular equation. Okay, when you're going to put 7 in the equation, you will get the minimum number, and when you're going to put 3 in the equation, you will get the maximum number. This is the conclusion that I'm drawing. Now I have to prove this conclusion to you. Okay, you don't have to prove this before the examiner, because examiner also already knows this. But just to prove you, I will put these two numbers in the equation. What is my original equation? What is my original equation? Okay, my original equation is 2x cube minus 30x square plus 126x plus 59. Okay, what I'll do is I'll put 3 in place of x, which will yield me the maximum result. Okay, 2 into 3 cube minus 30 plus 59. Let us compute the answer. Okay, so this is the number which we derive if we have the quantity as 3 units. If the quantity is 3 units, then the figure which is derived is this. I can confidently say that this is the maximum that can be derived from this particular number. How to prove this? To prove this, what I'll do is, instead of 3, I'll put 2. Okay. Instead of 3, I will put 2. (126 into 2 plus 59). Okay. Let us recompute the number when instead of 3, I'll put 2. So the answer comes out to be 16. 120 plus 252 plus 59. This is 207. It is lower than the number which was derived when you put 3. Okay. Now what I'll do is, I'll put the number as 4. Okay, because 3 was the middle number. I'll use 4 and 2 and see what is the result. Okay. Let's see what is the result when I put it as 4. So when I put 4 instead of 3, then let's see what is the outcome. Okay. (128 minus 480 plus 504 plus 59 plus 128 minus 480. This is 211. So when I put x is equal to 4, it gives me a figure of 211. When I put x is equal to 3, it gives me a 2, gives me a figure of 207. When I put x is equal to 3, it will give me a figure of 221. It proves that, hence proved that 3 is the number whereby my equation will yield the maximum result. If I take a number above 3, it is going to give me a lower result. If I take a number below 3, it is going to give me a lower result. This is the proof which I want to prove in front of you. This is not to be done in the examination. This is not to be done in the examination. Your answer will finish at this stage itself. Your answer finishes at this stage itself. Your answer finishes at this stage. Okay. So very, very important to understand what is the meaning of maximum and minimum. Now, do it yourself, guys. Do it yourself. Put x is equal to 7. Compute the number. Put x is equal to 8. Compute the number. Put x is equal to 6. Compute the number. You will find that x is equal to 7. When you put x is equal to 7, that will yield the minimum result. Try it yourself and see it for yourself that this will be true in all the cases. So this is how an equation is optimized. Optimized means either it is minimized or maximized. So minimum and maximum shall be done in this particular manner. This is how minimum and maximum is required to be derived by you. And this practical question is definitely going to come in the examination, either a small question or a large question. Consistently it has been appearing in the examination, and in future examination also you can expect this question in the paper. So the total cost function of a monopolist is given by, this is a monopoly firm, and the total cost function is C is equal to 50 plus 40x. Now x is divided into two parts, x1 and x2. x1 means number of units that are sold for market 1. x1 means number of units that are sold for market 1. x2 means number of units that are sold in market 2. So there are two markets to which this particular monopolist caters to. There are two markets, market 1 and market 2. So the monopolist sells its x1 units in market 1 and the monopolist sells its x2 units in market 2. So market 1 and market 2 is split in this manner. Okay, so cost remains the same. It's just that x, which is the total quantity, it is split into two markets. So x1 and x2 are the two markets that the entire output is split in. So x is equal to x1 plus x2. So 50 plus 40x is the total cost function. The total demand is given by P is equal to 100 minus 2x. Now again, demand function is given, revenue function is not given. But we know how to compute the revenue function from the demand function. We're just going to multiply P with x and we are going to compute the revenue function. The demand function of segmented markets, so the two different markets, market 1 and market 2. The demand function of the segmented markets are P1 is equal to 80 minus 2.5 x1 and P2 is equal to 180 minus 10 x2. This is the demand function for the segmented market. Okay, two segments are there and demand function for both the markets are given over here. If the price discrimination is practiced, which means we are having different prices for different markets. We are having two different prices for two different markets. And guys, we have already studied the concept of price differentiation, and we know that price differentiation exists. And what kind of price differentiation exists, that also we have studied in our theoretical portion, guys. I'll show you a chart also where this price discrimination is explained. Okay, so that's the price discrimination chart for all of you. So yes, price discrimination means a pricing strategy in which same seller sells product differently across markets based on what each market's buyers are willing to pay. So price discrimination is practiced in the markets. Price discrimination may be done in form of personal discrimination, like you pay lesser from poor people, you charge lesser from poor people, you charge more from richer people. So personal discrimination is there. Then place related discriminations is there. Different markets, different geographical locations have different prices of their products. Then third is trade or use discrimination. So what use are you putting the final output in? That also determines the price which you have to pay for that particular product. So price differentiation is a very common thing which happens in market. Okay, so if price discrimination is practiced, which means we are selling both the goods at a different price in both of the markets, then what will be the equilibrium profit maximizing output in each segment? You have to compute the profit maximizing output of each of the segments, market 1 and market 2, differently you have to compute. Two computations will be done in this, and what will be the price? Okay, so first you need to compute the profit maximizing output and then price in each of the two markets. So the price discrimination is to be practiced. Okay, so let's start illustration number 15. Illustration number 15. Computation of profit maximizing output in each market segment. Computation of profit maximizing output in each market segment. So this is market 1. So first we need to compute the profit maximizing output in market 1 and then we are going to compute it for market 2. Okay, so the question itself says that this particular case belongs to a monopolist. Okay, so in case of a monopolist, what will be the profit maximizing output? It will be the output at which MR is equal to MC. Okay, very simple. MR is equal to MC is the profit maximizing output level, the level which is obtained by equating MR and MC. That will be the profit maximizing level for this particular monopolist. So question is very clear that this is case of a monopolist. So yes, we can take the shortcut since he's a monopolist. Okay, so how will the marginal cost be computed? Marginal cost will be computed by differentiating the cost function. Cost function is 50 plus 40x1. This is the cost function. And what is the marginal revenue? Marginal revenue is total revenue. Price is given to us, guys. For market 1, price is given to us. If we multiply price with x, we will get the revenue. So it will be 80x minus 2.5x square. So differentiating the cost with respect to x and differentiating the revenue with respect to x will give us the marginal revenue and marginal cost, and this will give us the profit maximizing output. Okay, sir. So this will become 80 minus 5x1. This will become 80 minus 5x1, and what will be the derivative of this? It will be 40. Okay, 80 minus 5x1, and this will be 40. Now what will be the final figure? 80 minus 40. 40 divided by 5. x1 will be 8. x1 will be 8. So what is the profit maximizing output in case of market 1? It will be 8 units. 8 units is the profit maximizing output for market 1. Now let's compute the price of market 1. What will be the price at which the goods will be sold in market 1? The price is equal to 80 minus 2.5 x1, which implies 80 minus 2.5 into 8. So what is 2.5 into 8? 20 minus 80, it will be 60. So in market 1, the price should be 60 and the quantity sold should be 8. In market 1, the price should be 60 and the quantity sold should be 8 units in market 1. This we have computed for market 1. Now let us compute for market 2. Let us compute for market 2 as well. I'm going to use this market 2 also. This will change. This will change. So in case of market 2, MR is equal to MC. So what is the revenue function of market 2? Revenue function of market 2 is 180 minus 10x. So it will become 180x minus 10x square. It will be x2. Okay. This time it will be x2. Cost function remains the same. In both the markets, cost function remains absolutely the same. So we are going to compute the derivative of cost function and revenue function now. Okay. So this will become 180 minus 20x2 is equal to 50 goes away and 40 remains. Okay. So 180 goes on the other side, it will become minus 140. 140 divided by 20, it becomes 7. So x2 is equal to 7. Guys, I use shortcut to compute the answer directly. You please put each and every step in each of the lines. That's okay. Okay. Don't hesitate in writing all the steps properly. I take a shortcut. Okay. Then what will be the price at this level of selling in market 2? Price will be 180 minus 10x2. So 180 minus 10 multiplied by 7, which is price is 110. So the price becomes 110. So price becomes 110. Okay. So what is the price? Price is 110. So in market 2, what is the profit maximizing output and price? It is 7 and 110. Let's conclude. In market segment 2, the profit maximizing output is 7 units and the price is rupees 110. The profit maximizing output is 7 units and the price is rupees 110. So this is for, I hope we have written the conclusion for first part also, guys. If you have not written, please write the conclusion for first part also. In market segment 1, the profit maximizing output is 8 units and the price is rupees 60. Profit maximizing output is 8 units and the price is rupees 60. Please write the conclusion in market segment 1 also. Okay. So this is the market segmentation, guys. So question can come in this form also, that it asks you to compute the prices and quantities for each of the segments. So there are different segments, market 1, market 2, and cost will remain the same in both the segments. That is the special thing, because cost never changes. If market changes, cost never changes. It is only the price that you are charging which changes. Cost never changes. Cost remains constant. The cost is same in both the alternatives and the price changes. That's the only difference. So this is market segmentation price. When you segment the market on the basis of price, when you charge different prices in different market segments, this is the result which you get. Okay, and this will result into maximum profit for a monopolist. All right, this was illustration number 15 for all of you. Now we come on to illustration number 16. Illustration number 16. A producer has possibility of discriminating between two markets, market A and market B, for a product where demands respectively are. So demand function is given to you. Okay, and this producer has the possibility of discriminating between two markets, which means price can be different for both the markets. Price can be different for both the markets. Okay. Now, Q1 is equal to 21 minus 0.1 P1. This is the demand function. These are the demand functions. Okay. These are not the revenue functions. Please note that fact. Now, total cost is, which remains constant, is 2000 plus 10Q. Q is the output, and Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2. So Q1 is the quantity which is produced for market 1. Q2 is the quantity which is produced for market 2. So Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2. What price will producer charge in order to maximize profits? I mean, we need a profit maximizing price and profit maximizing output. That is what we need. A, with the discrimination between the markets. If we are discriminating between the markets, what will be the maximum profit? And B, without discrimination in the market. If you are not discriminating in the market, then what will be the profit maximizing price and out profit? Compare the profit differential between discrimination and non-discrimination. You also have to compare the profit difference. What is the profit when you exercise price discrimination? What is the profit when you do not exercise price discrimination? What is the difference between profit? That also you need to analyze in part C. So first part we are going to calculate when we have discrimination between markets. Second part when we have no price discrimination, which means both the markets have common price. And third part is we need to compute the profit differential between both the markets. Okay, sir. This is an interesting question. So let's start illustration number 16. Computation of profit maximizing output. Computation of profit maximizing output. So A part is when price discrimination is to be exercised. Option A is when price discrimination is adopted. So when price discrimination is adopted, we are going to compute different prices for different markets. Okay. So first we are going to talk about market 1. Then we are going to talk about market 2. Okay. So in case of market 1, what is the profit maximizing criteria? It is MR is equal to MC. Now one very important thing which needs your attention over here, guys. The question nowhere says that it's a monopolist firm. Question nowhere say that it's a monopoly firm. It's a monopolist firm. Question nowhere says this fact. But since the owner of the firm is able to exercise price discrimination at his own comfort, at his own will, at his own discretion, this gives us a hint that he is a monopolist. And nonetheless, we are assuming that he is a monopolist. We are assuming that producer is a monopolist. Always raise an assumption in such questions where price discrimination is required to be exercised. Always write this assumption, assuming that producer is a monopolist. MR is equal to MC is the profit maximizing output. Now let us see what is the revenue and what is the cost. So the revenue is given by Q is equal to 21 minus 0.1 P1. Okay. So first of all, we are going to differentiate the cost. What is the cost function? Cost function is 2000 plus 10Q. 2000 plus 10Q is the cost function. Now let us prepare a working note which will tell us what will be the total revenue function, because total revenue function is not that straightforward in this particular question. So computation of total revenue function. Computation of total revenue function. Q1 is equal to 21 minus 0.1 P1. Q1 is equal to 21 minus 0.1 P1. Okay, this is the function. Now I need to compute this function with respect to P. Okay, so Q1 minus 21 is equal to minus 0.1 P1. Now I'm going to make this 0.1 as a denominator over here. Okay, so 1 divided by 0.1 is 10. So this becomes minus 10 Q1 plus 21 divided by 0.1, 210 plus 210 is equal to P1. That is the entire equation which has come up. Now what will be the total revenue? Total revenue is equal to P multiplied by X. This is the total revenue. So we are going to multiply this entire equation with X, with Q. Q is the factor over here. So this becomes 210 Q minus 10 Q square is equal to total revenue. So total revenue function is 210 Q1 minus 10 Q square. 210 Q1 minus 10 Q square is the total revenue function of this particular market. Okay, now we are going to differentiate it. So differentiate with respect to X. 210 Q1 minus 10 Q1 square. Differentiate with respect to Q, actually not X but Q. So this is dq. What will be the differentiation? It will be 210 minus 20 Q1 is equal to 10. So this is the, after differentiation this will come up. Okay, I'll send 210 over there. So minus 20Q is equal to 210 minus 210, which will become minus 200. Minus minus gets cancelled, so Q1 is equal to 10. So what is the quantity that is to be sold in first market? It is 10 units should be sold in first market. 10 units should be sold in market 1 to obtain maximum profit. Now what will be the price? That is what we need to compute. Okay, what is the price? Price equation is given over here. So P1 is equal to 210 minus 10 Q1. So P1 is equal to 110. So price is 110 and Q1 is 10. Price is 110 and quantity is 10. So price at which the goods is to be sold under equilibrium is 110 and the quantity to be sold in market 1 is 10. This is for market 1. Now let us compute the same thing for market 2. I'll use the same format, guys. Okay, same format will be used for market 2. Same thing will be used for market 2 and same working node will also be created for market 2. Working node number 2 will be created for market 2. Okay. So this is with respect to market 2. Okay, sir. So market 2, okay, revenue function will change entirely. This entire thing will change entirely. Now we come up on market 2. So again, in market 2, we are equating marginal revenue with marginal cost. We need to first compute the revenue figure. Okay, the revenue figure is required to be computed first. So working note number 2, computation of total revenue function. So first tell me, in market 2, what is the demand function? In market 2, what is the demand function? It is Q2 is equal to 50 minus 0.4 P2. This is a demand function. Again, we are going to compute the demand function with respect to P is equal to minus 0.4 P2. Okay, so 1 divided by 0.4 is 2.5. So it is this is plus 125 is equal to P2. So I have divided this side by minus 0.4. This side I have divided by minus 0.4. Okay, sir. So P2 is equal to 125 minus 2.5 Q2. Now I'll multiply it with Q. The TR is equal to P multiplied by Q. Okay, so TR is equal to 125 Q2 minus 2.5 Q2 square, which I'm going to transpose over here. 125 Q2 minus 2.5 Q2 square. I will differentiate marginal revenue and marginal cost. Okay, so this becomes 125 minus 5 Q2, and this becomes 10. That is 125 minus 5 Q2. This becomes 10. Okay, so the minus 5 Q2 is equal to minus 115. So Q2 is equal to 115 divided by 5, which is 23. So 23 is the output that we have derived, the profit maximizing output for market number 2. Now let us compute the price of market 2. So P is equal to 125 minus 2.5 into Q2. So 125 minus 2.5 into 23. So 23 into 2.5 minus 125 gives me 67.5. So price which is to be charged is 67.5. So price which is to be charged is 67.5 in market 2. Okay, so guys, if price discrimination is followed, then in market 1 and 2, this is the quantity and price respectively. This is the answer to part A. So let's conclude. Hence, the profit maximizing output and price, hence the profit maximizing output and price in each of the markets, is given as under. So guys, draw a box like this. Particulars. Market 1, market 2, quantity and price. Guys, write your answer in a tabular form, it will be much more presentable. Okay, so market 1, the price is 110, quantity sold is 10. Market 2, quantity sold is 23, and the price is 67.5. Okay, so write your answer in this format, guys. In this tabular form, you write your answer. This is how the answer is to be written. Okay, market 1 and market 2 both to be written separately. Okay, now let us start part B. Okay, part B says when price discrimination doesn't take place. Okay, you are selling the products at same price in all the markets. When price discrimination doesn't take place, illustration number 16, part B. When price discrimination is not adopted. Okay, when price discrimination is not adopted, then what will be the profit maximizing level of output and quantity? Output, quantity and price. Okay, when price discrimination is not adopted. Now guys, when price discrimination is not adopted, it simply means that P1 is equal to P2, which is equal to constant P. So there are no two P's. Two P's are not there. P is only one. Okay, P is only one. Both the P's are together. There's no P1 or P2 concept. Okay, so P is equal to P2. P1 is equal to P2, which is one P. There's only P. There's no P1 and P2. Okay, and there's only one Q. Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2. Remains the same. Everything is same. Okay, so the demand function is Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2. So I'm going to add both the demand functions. 21 minus 0.1 P plus 50 minus 0.4 P. So P1 and P2 I've replaced with P. There's constant P. There's no price discrimination. We'll sell the products at same cost. So this is the demand function. Quantity is equal to 71 minus 0.5 P. This is the demand function. 71 minus 0.5 P. This is the demand function. So total demand is catered in one equation. We are not having two different equations. We don't have two different equations. We have only one equation, which is Q is equal to the total of Q1 and Q2. Okay, and P1 and P2 is replaced by P. There's only single P. 71 minus 0.5 is the 0.5 P is the equation. Okay, now we will compute the P from here. So Q minus 71 is equal to minus 0.5 P. I'll put it in denominator. 1 divided by 0.5 is, so it will become minus 2Q, and 71 divided by 0.5. 71 divided by 0.5 is 142. So this will become 142 minus 2Q is equal to P. So I have computed the function of P. I've just divided minus 0.5 from both the numbers. Okay, Q also 1 divided by 0.5, it is 2. 2Q minus, it becomes minus becomes plus. So 71 divided by 0.5 is 142. Minus becomes plus. So 142 minus 2Q is the P. Now what is the total revenue function? Total revenue is equal to P multiplied by Q. What is the total revenue function? It is P multiplied by Q. It is 142Q minus 2Q square is equal to the total revenue function. Now what is the profit maximizing output? Profit maximizing level of output. What is the profit maximizing level of output? MR is equal to MC. MR is equal to MC. Okay, so let us do this calculation on this side. Okay, so MR is equal to MC. This is the profit maximizing condition. So MR is differentiation of this equation, which is 142Q minus 2Q square. This is a total revenue. We differentiated with respect to Q. Then there's marginal cost. So what is the total cost? Total cost function remains the same, guys. Anyways, it remains the same. 2000 plus 10Q. 2000 plus 10Q is the total cost function. 2000 plus 10Q. Okay, we'll equate both of them. So 140 minus 4Q is equal to n. 142 minus 4Q is equal to 10. So this goes over there, becomes 132. So minus 4Q is equal to minus 132. So Q is equal to 132 divided by 4, it becomes 33. So Q becomes 33. So what is Q? Q is 33. Next question is, what is P? What will be P? P is equal to 142 minus 2Q. So 142 minus 2 into 33, which is equal to 142 minus 66. So P is equal to 76. So what is the profit maximizing quantity? Profit maximizing quantity is 33 units. What is the profit maximizing price? Profit maximizing price is 76. 33 is the profit maximizing quantity. 76 is the profit maximizing price in case price discrimination is not adopted by the monopolist. Okay. So let's conclude part B, guys. Let's conclude part B. Hence, the profit maximizing quantity. Hence, the profit maximizing quantity and price. Profit maximizing quantity and price is computed as 33 units and rupees 76 respectively, comma, in case where price discrimination is not adopted, in case where price discrimination is not adopted. Okay, so this is the profit maximizing output and price. Price discrimination is not adopted in this particular case. Okay, so this was part B for all of you. Now comes part C. Yes, quite a lengthy question, but guys, in examination typically such a lengthy question cannot come. It can come in parts, but not entirely, like, you know, all the parts are there. This is not possible. So computation of, we start with part C now. Computation of profit differential under both the alternatives. Computation of profit differential under both the alternatives. So under both the alternatives, what will be the difference in profits? That is what we are going to compute now. Okay, sir. A small table is required to be made for this computation. Okay, let's see what is the profit differential Under both the alternatives, what is the difference in profit? Yes, sir. So this will be the row for the headings. Then we'll have the two market segments, market 1 and market 2. Okay, so these are the particulars. This is market 1. No, this is not market 1. This is option 1, which is with price discrimination, and this one is without price discrimination. This is with price discrimination, this is without price discrimination. Here we have the revenue. Then we have the cost. Okay. This is the revenue. This is the cost. This is the profit. This is A. B. C is equal to A minus B. Okay. With price discrimination, without price discrimination, we are going to compute the revenue. We are going to compute the cost. Okay. So if price discrimination is exercised, then what will be the revenue? If price discrimination is exercised, what will be the revenue? If price discrimination is exercised, then guys, the revenue will be quantity multiplied by price in market 1, quantity multiplied by price in market 2. This will be the revenue and price. Okay. So the revenue will be price 1 into quantity 1 plus price 2 into quantity 2. This will actually be 110 multiplied by 10 plus 23 multiplied by 67.5. So the profit will be the revenue will be 2662.5. Okay, the revenue will be 2662.5. Now coming on to cost, what will be the cost? Okay, in price discrimination part 1, the cost will be constant, 2000 plus 10q. 2000 plus 10q. The cost will be 2000 plus 10 q1 plus q2. So it will be 2000 plus 10 into 23 plus 10. Total 33. Okay, so what will be the cost? 10 into 33 plus 2000. It will be 2330. So 2330 minus 2662.5. This will give me a figure of 332.5. Okay, then without price discrimination, what will be the price without price discrimination? It will simply be P multiplied by Q, which in our case is 33 units multiplied by 76. Okay, 76 is the price, 33 is the units. 33 multiplied by 76. The total revenue is 2508. And what will be the cost? Cost will be the same. Same as earlier column. Cost will be the same as earlier column. Okay, it will be 2330. So 2502 minus 2330 gives me a figure of 178. So this is the profit differential if price discrimination is adopted, and if price discrimination is not adopted, then what is the difference in profit to the monopolist? This is the difference in profit to the monopolist. Okay, very important point over here. Very, very important point, guys. Profit when price discrimination is adopted and profit when price discrimination is not adopted. Both of them are given together. Okay. Let's conclude. From the above computation, it can be seen that the profit of the monopolist will be maximized. The profit of the monopolist will be maximized when price discrimination is adopted. When price discrimination is adopted. Full stop. Thus, the profit will increase from 178 to 332.5 by adopting price discrimination. Will be increased from 178 to 332.5 by adopting price discrimination. Okay, so this is the point on price discrimination and how price discrimination can help us in increasing our profits. So obviously, guys, price discrimination will definitely help us in increasing our profits, because if we discriminate based on price, then we charge higher price from certain category of our customers. It helps us in increasing the profits of the company. Okay, so got it. So yes, this was your chapter of economic efficiency, and I mean this is not the entire chapter, but I have taken the most important part of it so that it is relevant for you in the examination. When you are performing the calculation in the examination, you are able to sustain the calculation. That is the idea which I've done this chapter with. Okay, so this was your chapter on economic efficiency of the firm.